6 years without intimacy has left me feeling like a ghost in my own relationship. After we survived the streets of Philly, I thought we'd find our spark again. But now, it's too much work and it isn't about you, she said, breaking my heart all over again. Why does my girlfriend of nearly a decade treat affection like a burden? We were homeless for all that time when we did not engage in sexual activity. I understood the reasons, but now that we are back on our feet, nothing has changed and I do not understand why. It has been 6 months now. I am not an aggressive person when it comes to sex. However, now that we are sober, is it not only natural to want to experience those original endorphins being released? For such a long time, I felt numb and did not care about anything, not even myself. We stuck together during a really rough time, but there were a few situations where she was hurtful to me. Things that were not normal before became the norm. Gradually, the hand-holding, hugging, and spooning diminished over time. I did not really notice until it became apparent, if that makes sense. She forgot my birthday 2 years into our homelessness and did not realize it until 2 days later when I finally mentioned it to her. I felt really embarrassed to bring it up, but I could not help myself and spoke up. She apologized, and I believe she truly forgot amidst all the stress of living on the streets. Yes, I understood that, but at the same time I did not. Fast forward, I would panhandle, which I disliked a lot because I knew I could do much better. I felt ashamed and embarrassed. The whole experience was degrading. I made more money than she did and had the patience as well as the personality to talk to people. So she usually did not do it. That was my job. She would do the running, which was risky. I felt we both did our part, but my part really affected my self-esteem. People are very mean and rude to the homeless and often violent, so you can imagine how miserable and depressed we both were, operating on survival mode. One day, she became upset with me for using the last of our supply and left me alone for 3 whole days and nights. I truly thought she had more. She had left me alone for 12 hours and feeling unwell, I used whatever I had for us. It was only one. I apologized, was getting ready to panhandle, and would have had the money in an hour or less. That was not good enough for her. She left me. I thought she would come back. She would never abandon me on the streets of Philadelphia. I was very wrong. I tried to find her and did. She ran from me, literally. I discovered that she was staying with her friend at her house, taking showers, having fun, spending money, eating, and posting cute selfies on Facebook, just carefree and happy while I was so lost, hurt, and heartbroken, sleeping alone and unable to mentally get it together because I missed her so much I felt ill. I found her again on the second day, and she promised to meet me at a certain time, but that time came and went without her. On the fourth day, she came to where her friend, BM50, stayed under a bridge. I was alone and he offered me company, so I was there when she arrived. I do not know if she came to the place we had once stayed before seeing him, but I do not believe her. She did not even hug me or apologize. She just laid down beside me. It was cold outside, so body heat was a necessity. I was grateful she came back, and everything seemed to be swept under the rug. She admitted she overreacted, and that was it. Fast forward again, I started to feel like a slave. If we were broken, I was sick, it did not matter. I had to go out and panhandle before she would ever think to do it. I mean, I could have a fever, cold sweats, or be vomiting. No empathy was shown to me from her. I continued to supply for us while she ran off, and I completely trusted her. I knew she would not betray me, but I was always scared she would leave me again. She protected me one night when a man punched me in the face and throat. She knocked him out. She had warrants, so she went to jail. I was lucky to have a fake name because I had the same warrants as her. I could not live without her after she had left for those 3 days. I knew for certain that I could not handle a jail stint. 4 days later, I went to rehab. A month later, she was out and in rehab with me. She left after 3 days, and I followed her when I realized it. The positive part was we remained on medication-assisted treatment. We did other things that were not healthy, but one major issue was off our backs. Our lives and minds slowly began to change. I could no longer enjoy the high from cocaine, and my motivation to panhandle was gone. She was my other reason. I complied for her, but started to think about us and how messed up this situation was. I wanted life back. I wanted us back. We finally moved into a recovery house, then into a private room. Now, 6 months later of living a normal life, nothing has changed with her. I am not overly sexual, but do want to feel loved and wanted. If she would just be cuddly or comforting at times, that would suffice. She is not the clingy type of girlfriend, and that is fine. The only issue is that, from an outside perspective, we appear to be just good friends. At least that is how I perceive it. She is absolutely stunningly beautiful, and everyone stops to admire her. She is oblivious to her beauty, and that in itself is more attractive. She has past trauma, which could explain her lack of physical intimacy. I just know and remember that it was she who came onto me, and she had no issues making her moves back then. So I question if that is the situation and the reason now. I have been making excuses for her. I always have, because I am embarrassed to admit that this beautiful girlfriend of mine and I have not been intimate for almost 7 years. I would not dare share that with anyone in person because it reflects on me. If she were genuinely invested in me and still attracted to me, then why would she not initiate any kind of physical affection? I have asked her, I have dropped hints, I have been patient, and I have asked what I can do to help improve this. Basically, I am told everything is fine and that she loves me. That is it. She does not provide any further explanation, leaving me feeling like I have not received an answer at all. Weeks pass and still nothing. I am growing bitter and resentful. I am miserable and I do not want to admit that I wish to make her miserable too. I do not want to be that way toward her or anyone. I just do not know how to handle this. I do not want to imagine life without her as that thought terrifies me. Yes, I am very codependent and I know that is sad. I hate that I feel sorry for myself, but it is what it is. On top of everything else, I happened to check the history on the website I was browsing and we usually share Google accounts. I saw that porn had been searched and yes, I was shocked. Mainly because she acts like a prude now when it comes to discussing sex between us. I tried to tell her that it is okay to watch porn. I have those feelings too now that we have been clean. I attempted to let her know it is normal and if she felt the need to watch porn, why would she not tell me? Now I understand that it does not always have to involve me. Alone time happens and that is fine. But when we have not had sex for 6.5 years and I have been asking her about why we have not and when, then that is a significant problem for me. I want to feel good too and I would love to make her feel good also if possible. I felt disrespected, I felt emotionally cheated on and sadly I brought it up and she exploded saying it was my fault we were arguing. I asked her why she could not just say or make any moves toward me to let me know. She replied, "It is too much work and it is not about you." Can I say that hurt? That really hurt and I was stuck for a few seconds. I never thought she considered our sexual relationship to be work. And for her to say it was not about me, well, that is disappointing because it should have been. She perceived it as a good thing. No, it was absolutely hurtful that I was not a consideration she made while watching porn, even for a brief visual moment during it. Please tell me if I am being too clingy. She tells me I am crazy and that everything is fine. Fine, fine. But if everything is so fine, then why after 2 months of discovering that has she not even attempted to hold my hand? Let me backtrack and mention that I began to notice every time I touched her leg, shoulder, or any part of her body, she reacted as if I had scabies or as if I were a stranger doing it. She would jump as if she were scared, you know. Now I believed past trauma was to blame. Over time, it got worse to the point where even if she saw me coming toward her and I touched her leg, she would still react the same way. Now I do not know how you say you are scared of me when you see me coming clearly. I started to notice that I would slightly bump her. I stopped doing that because it hurt my feelings tremendously. I felt rejected each time, and I ended up walking on eggshells just to ensure I did not accidentally touch her. She never noticed or even seemed to miss my physical touch, cuddling at night, or just wanting to softly hold her to feel her skin. That bothered me as well. I became very aware of how she responded to everything I did or said. She never responded. Anyway, back to me mentioning the porn. She would get all embarrassed, saying things like, "Come on man, stop talking to me right now, trying to play me like I am some kind of sex freak." Or she would say, "SHH, stop being quiet, someone is probably going to hear you," and I would have to stop discussing it. I would receive no answer and eventually the same conversation would replay. I am literally expressing to her that I want to do things we used to do before the drugs, and that includes sex, going out, or doing activities that would benefit our future together. She gives me one-word answers to questions that require at least a paragraph or two. It is not fair to me that I am constantly trying to figure out how to make this better. How can we achieve a healthy sexual and loving relationship together? I feel like I am the only one truly trying and wanting us to succeed. My vision of the future has her right beside me. I am unsure if that is how hers looks. It is taking a massive toll on my self-esteem and I am obsessing over this. If she were at least trying to show that she is still interested in me or even a little bit attracted to me, I would not be pestering her. Why do I feel like I am pestering her? Well, that is what she says, that I am annoying and should shut up. I have been crying my eyes out to her and telling her I love her. Her response was, "Shut the F up, I do not want to hear any of that I love you nonsense." I do not even receive an apology for how cruel she is when this occurs. I am always crying and about once a week I bring it up. It is a cycle and it is unhealthy. In another situation, she has been using my mother's phone for about 2 months. She also got a laptop that she uses. In the past, we always used the same Google accounts. It was her decision, not mine. However, she created a new separate account for her laptop and she strictly uses that one, which I do not care about. The phone was my mother's, so it is another separate Google account. I finally decided to check my mother's phone because something told me to do so. I should also mention we attend therapy and have separate therapists. She never stayed long to talk to them until this one lady. Now she seems very nice, good at her job, and pretty too. I never felt threatened by her. I started to notice my girlfriend was staying in her session for a full hour instead of just 5 minutes. So okay, I was happy she had finally found someone she is comfortable with. She also started getting dressed up, wearing makeup, and dressing nicely. I attributed it to her wanting to feel better. Well, I was informed by my therapist about my relationship and asked if I wanted to have our sessions together. I was taken aback, not understanding why that was suggested. It seemed my therapist knew something I did not. I broke down and told her what was happening. I also declined as my girlfriend would freak out and blame me for it. I was honestly scared and more embarrassed. I asked my therapist why that suggestion was made and what was said, if anything. I did not want to think of myself as that special to her. My therapist reaffirmed my fears by telling me she never talks about me with them. Funny, huh? So I began to pay closer attention to their interactions. My girlfriend forgets that I can tell when she is attracted to someone. I recognize her signs when she has a crush. She had to be literally interrupted for us to leave on time for a test we had scheduled. She was the one telling me to hurry during our one-on-one that day. I finished in 5 minutes, still waiting for her. My therapist had to knock on their door to get her to come out. We were late and she told me she had asked her twice to leave but then felt guilty saying it again. Why on earth would you feel guilty about that? I happened to look at my mother's phone and I found a number saved under the Text Now app with no name. She has been texting her therapist for 2 months. Her justification is that her therapist suggested this because she is not comfortable discussing her past trauma in person. Okay, that is fine, but it is not cool either. I was never informed of this and we usually discuss everything. I have my own issues and the only reason I ever texted my therapist was for scheduling or court appearances. As far as I know, the therapist's side is strictly professional, but why is my girlfriend asking her how her weekend was? She has not asked me that in years. She claims the reason it is not saved is that it is not her phone, yet she saved another friend's number. The texts were also deleted, I could tell. The therapist does not text after office hours, so it appears professional, but what cannot be discussed that cannot wait until their appointment in person? I expressed my discomfort with this situation. My girlfriend is more worried about that lady losing her job than about how I feel. She refuses to consider going there, wanting to avoid attending again. To me, that does not look like nothing is going on. I need answers. She will not provide any. No pun intended. Story 2. After 8 years of love, she left me for her new girlfriend, Emily. I love you, but I'm not in love with you anymore, shattered my world. Now, as I struggled to rebuild, I found myself writing a letter to win her back. Can I really fix this broken heart? Hello, back when I mailed 26 years old was in high school, I used to use BlackBerry Messenger, and that is how I met her female 27 years old. We were friends on BlackBerry Messenger for about 2 or 3 years before we decided to actually meet in person, as we lived in different cities at that time. During that period, I was always in a relationship with someone. I use the term dating because obviously it was high school and not as serious as my current relationship. Throughout that time, she was the person I would confide in regarding all my girlfriend-related drama. She was also in a relationship during that time. However, after about a week of seeing each other in person, she broke up with her boyfriend to be with me. At that time, we could only see each other when I visited my father's house on the weekends. My brother's father, I hesitate to refer to him as my stepfather, as I have never called him that in my life. It makes me feel ill, to be honest, was abusive to everyone in the house, meaning I was not allowed out much. During the summer of that year, 2014, while we were dating, my mother had him arrested while he was asleep. I finally told my mother about her that summer, and my mother treated her as if she were her own daughter. We planned a day out with my family and hers. Her mother met my mother and so on. We both lost our virginity to each other that same summer. My mother allowed her to sleep over, although her mother was not very happy about it at first, which is totally understandable given that we were 15 and 16 years old. One day we decided it would be a great idea to get matching tattoos. I got a K with a crown and she got a Q with a crown on our hands. I do not remember the exact timeline of that moment, but I know she had to sign for me because I was underage. Anyway, she graduated from high school and by that time she basically lived at my house. She would go to work and come home just as I finished school. I had to take a few extra classes, so I decided to attend an adult school near her actual house, which led to me living with them instead. We both attempted to attend college twice, but neither of us was successful. Fast forward to 2020, I proposed to her and she accepted. By this time, everyone, friends and family included, wanted a relationship like ours. We were inseparable. Even since we were young, people would often say things like, "Oh, you two are perfect for each other," and so on. We attended college together and even worked together. In 2021, we found out she was pregnant. The doctors had previously told us she could not get pregnant. For any females reading this, do not always believe your doctor. The following year, our baby was born. Honestly, we were never actively trying to have a baby. However, considering we believed she could not get pregnant, I would sometimes act as if we were okay. By this point, we were 7 years into our relationship and had probably used protection only 2 times, so we both thought we were safe. During the summer when the baby was born, she was on maternity leave while I was still working. She used to drop me off at work as I did not drive at the time. I got my license, crashed her mother's car, and totaled it the same day, so I was scared to drive. Many of my friends at work were her friends, so we would have them over almost every day while the baby was asleep. We would play games like Uno, smoke weed, or play Foursquare at a park, among other activities. There were probably about 10 to 15 of us. As the manager of the department, I basically invited anyone I spoke to at work. While she was on maternity leave, a new employee joined, whom we will call Emily, female, 21 years old, I am not sure. Emily was invited all the time and came often. As summer came to an end, we eventually began inviting only Emily over. My fiancé and I planned a trip out of town with our friends who were also engaged. That is when I started to notice things becoming odd. I took care of the baby with my male friend while the girls did activities like go-karting and eating out, and we would switch. However, I noticed that my fiancé was being quite distant throughout the whole trip. When we returned home, I asked her if everything was okay and if she still loved me. She assured me that she did. However, she and Emily began spending a lot of time together, leaving me feeling excluded. I tried to invite myself along, but she would instantly shut down the idea. Sometimes, she would leave me at home with the baby until 5 in the morning while she was out with Emily. One morning, she dropped me off at work and texted me, saying we needed to talk about something. She told me she was bisexual and wanted to take a break from our relationship. I had no idea. Mind you, I have known this girl for 10 years and that had never crossed my mind until she told me. My entire life turned upside down that day. I felt nauseous at work. I do not know if it was anxiety or what. I do not think she would cheat on me and she insisted she hadn't. However, she told me she had fallen out of love with me. When I got home from work, I could not look at her without bursting into tears. I did not want to sleep with her that night, so I spent the night on the floor in the baby's room. I was just crying nonstop, going through old pictures of us three. She caught me doing that and apologized. She cried as well. That night I could not sleep. She was supposed to drive me to work, but I was just mad at the world. I walked for about 3 to 4 hours to get to work. While walking, I told my mom what happened and tried to convince her that everything would be fine. At this point, my fiancé wanted me out of the house. With zero sleep, I worked my entire shift that day. A few days went by, and she became upset that I was still there, prompting her to have my mother come pick me up. I was not eating for weeks and did nothing but cry on the couch while texting her how much I loved her and how sorry I was. I did not contribute to the relationship as I should have, but we will get into that. The doctor prescribed me medication. I do not remember which one, but I never took it and wrote a note for sick leave. I planned to return to work, but it was difficult due to the distance, especially for someone without a car and because I was Emily's department manager. About a month after we broke up, she and Emily started dating. I had seen this coming as Emily had been openly bisexual. It honestly hurt that it took only a month, but my fiancé told me she had been contemplating breaking up even before the engagement. Once I finally regained my ability to function, I began trying to apply for new jobs but had no luck. For those in Canada, you know the situation. She told me all the things I had done wrong in the relationship. She wanted more assistance with the baby and more time spent with her. I also think my low sex drive may have been a contributing factor, but she never mentioned that. During the summer when we had all our friends over, she brought up needing more help and more time together. However, we continued to invite people over, so I thought everything was okay. To be honest, I spent a lot of time playing video games when we did not have friends over after I finished work. Work was incredibly stressful due to being short-staffed, and as a department manager, they expected far too much from me. Our entire relationship had been like that. She would watch Netflix or do her own thing on her phone while I played games. By bedtime, we would occasionally watch a show or two before going to sleep. I would say I initiated intimacy about 98% of the time. I wanted it all the time, her, maybe once a month if that. However, that was certainly not the case when we were teenagers. Looking back, I can understand that she did not feel appreciated or loved, which was never my intention. I never stopped loving her or appreciating her, but I may have stopped showing her, which likely contributed to this breakup in the first place. She told me if I had done my part, we would still be together. Fast forward to now, I am still unemployed. I applied through the government for a free year of college, but my application did not go through. They only accept certain courses, and the course I want to take is not on that list. By the way, they took almost a year to communicate this to me. They did not accept or deny my application, they just left it hanging. As for work, I have been trying to find a job again but have had no success. I decided to take out another loan for school. However, I must be accepted into the course and the loan, and I cannot pay the fee to apply until next month. Anyway, co-parenting has been going well, which is a good thing. The baby comes to stay with me every weekend. For the longest time, I could not even look at her when she dropped the baby off. In the beginning of the breakup, I told her I was sorry but that she should only talk to me about the baby, otherwise we should not communicate. Recently, I have been speaking to her more than I used to, trying my best to be amicable while still managing my emotions towards her. She has been all I have known in terms of an actual relationship. I do not see her as a friend, and I doubt I ever will. I have talked to other people online in the past, but nothing comes close to the feelings I have for her. On Monday, I received a message from her that was forwarded from my mother. My mom was essentially asking her for another grandchild. I replied with who my own ex-fiancé does not even want me. Before I continue, I believe she and Emily broke up, but I do not know why or when. However, she is no longer mentioned in any social media bio. My fiancé expressed that she wanted me to man up and stated she has not seen any changes in me. Keep in mind, we have kept our conversations minimal unless they were regarding the baby. I explained to her that I am still actively looking for work and trying to get into school, and that it disturbs me to not be able to help with the baby more. She acknowledged that she handled everything incorrectly and admitted to lacking communication, but she also said she wanted to see changes in me. I told her it was interesting that she is bringing all this up because literally the week before, I had a dream that everything was perfect between us, but clearly that is not the case. She responded that love does not disappear after 8.5 years. This is where I need advice. Since we have broken up, I have honestly not said happy birthday or happy holidays to her. I acknowledge that this was a rather callous thing for me to do. I completely understand that. I have been hurting ever since the breakup, even when I try to distract myself from thoughts of her. I returned the engagement ring early on out of spite. That said, knowing that she seems somewhat open to the idea of rekindling our relationship, I am more inclined to show her that I genuinely love and care for her. Yesterday, I spent hours searching for her engagement ring, but unfortunately, I had no luck. The reason I was looking for it is that Mother's Day is approaching. I intended to print numerous pictures of the three of us and write a two-part letter. The first letter was going to acknowledge the wrongs I committed in the relationship and inform her that I have since changed. All this time without her has made me regret not spending time with her, and I would trade everything to have that picture-perfect family we both desired. As for helping with the baby more, I do everything I should be doing for him when he is here and try my best when he is not. Again, I would exchange anything to experience parenting with the person I love and ensure our baby is happy. Furthermore, I plan to express in letter 1 how much I genuinely appreciate her. It may not seem that way because I have never openly expressed it since the breakup, but she has done so much for me and our child. This is also something I realized I failed to do during our relationship, truly appreciate her as a person. Of course, she wishes I was working or in school. However, these are things I am still working on. I do not want to stay home all day while I have a child that I cannot properly provide for. It pains me every single day. To summarize letter 1, I would explain the things I am working on and the realizations or lessons I have learned over the years. I feel that I have had ample time to reflect on everything. Additionally, I was planning to present all this in a jewelry box with letter 1 on top, followed by cut-out photos, then letter 2. I intended to place the ring at the very bottom of the box and put letter 2 above it. Letter 2 would serve as a reminder that I am still here, and it is not too late for us to resolve our issues if she wants to. I believe all of these problems could be fixed through communication. I also hope to include my acceptance letter in the box to demonstrate my sincere efforts, but I have not figured out where to place it yet. Lastly, I hope I can find the ring. So finally, my question is, do you think this is a good idea, or do you have any suggestions to help save this relationship? Story 3. After a year of non-committal love with my avoidant boyfriend, I finally pressed for marriage. I bought a ring, he said, just weeks after I discovered he was still chatting with an old hookup. Was I wrong to think he was my person? Now I'm lost and questioning everything. I am inherently a secure partner. However, I found myself in a casual situation with an avoidant individual. I was not seeking anything serious, as I had just ended an engagement about 7 months earlier, and I spent time alone because I felt unprepared for a serious relationship. I had caused my ex-partner pain, and I did not enjoy that experience. I also blamed myself to some extent because I was uncertain if I had an issue. After doing the necessary work to understand attachment styles, I realized that my disconnection stemmed from his heightened anxiety. Even though I consistently set boundaries, he attempted to challenge them. I cared about him, but certain boundaries affected my personal time with my children, and I felt I still needed that personal connection with them, which could not be compromised for his need for attention. Therefore, I was justified in ending that relationship. However, I had not addressed these issues initially and did not want to hurt anyone else. Entering a situation with an avoidant was comfortable because I did not feel pressured to engage in anything I did not want to, and I believed it could be non-committal. After a year, I developed feelings and expressed them. I informed him that if he was not on the same page, we needed to end the relationship. He assured me that he was, and we began officially dating. I noticed some discrepancies and brought them to his attention. He would address these concerns temporarily, and he genuinely changed in many ways. I was patient, understanding that at 36 he had never experienced a real long-term relationship, so I accepted the situation. I did not require much, just the basics. I told him at the beginning that I would not date someone for 5 years without any steps being taken toward marriage. He agreed, and we discussed this intermittently at my request to ensure we were aligned. The challenge arose when I sensed he became comfortable, believing that I would not pressure him or expect progress, allowing him to feel safe enough to grow closer without urgency. Around the 4th year, I started mentioning marriage more frequently and inquired about his thoughts and reservations. At times, he expressed a few concerns. For instance, his job could require relocation, and I established a boundary early in our relationship that I would not move my children away from their father, who has always been very involved in their lives. I maintained this boundary consistently. My boyfriend asked me about the type of rings I liked, and around Christmas, we had an argument because he chose to spend all his time off work in a different state with his family. He was aware that I would not see him during this time, as I wanted to spend Christmas with my children, who also wanted to be with their father. This has been a recurring issue around Christmas. I did not ask for enormous amounts of time, just some communication and reassurance that a portion of his time off was going to be dedicated to me and that it was a priority. He neither reassured me nor communicated that his plan was to spend all of his time there until 3 days before his break. During this season, we typically spend around 4 to 5 hours a week together late at night, as his work is extremely demanding at that time. I have no problem with this and am okay with doing my own activities, but I do require communication and for my partner to prioritize connection at some point. During this argument, he mentioned that he had purchased a ring, and I requested that he not give it to me at that moment because this was a significant issue I needed to resolve before making any informed decisions. He agreed. 3 months later, I discovered that he had been in contact with an old hookup throughout our entire relationship, and they often disrespected me by communicating as if they were still interested in one another, mostly on her part. But he engaged with it, she had access to things he needed, and could provide them at a low cost. He downplayed our relationship to her, and when I questioned him about their connection months earlier, he lied to me by saying they never dated, never hooked up, and never had any romantic ties, just college friends, and she was married. I believed him and never questioned it again. I now realize this was a deactivating strategy for him, but the deceitfulness was the primary issue for me. I ended the relationship, but afterward I fell into a spiral. I could not trust myself or comprehend how I had allowed myself to become so emotionally attached to someone I considered my best friend while he was actively disrespecting me. This situation caused me to question many other aspects of my life as well. We have now spent several months apart. I have attended therapy, read a book to understand attachment styles, exercised, tried new hobbies, made new friends, and truly focused on my relationship with God, among other things. I communicated with him multiple times during this period, and ultimately, I still have love for him. I genuinely believed he was the right person for me. However, over the past 6 months, I have developed anxious tendencies. It has felt overwhelming, but I believe I am gaining some stability in the past few weeks. We have discussed the possibility of reconciling and what that would entail. I have worked with my therapist on this, establishing some boundaries that he has agreed to, but I still sense some disconnection in our communication. Conversation. Me, are you willing to send a text that fully explains your reasons for wanting to end things so that you can pursue a healthy relationship? He claims he has not spoken to her in a while, but a boundary for me is that no relationship exists, and he sends a message I can personally see in which he completely shuts off all ties with her, leaving no doors open. Him, I understand the reason and I will do it. Nonetheless, I feel it is unfair that I have to end a long-term friendship. Me, this friendship has served as a deactivating strategy because it is non-committal and requires very little from you. You gain validation and an escape from our genuine relationship. She does not need anything from you because she receives that from her husband. It has disrespected me for years, and you must decide which relationship is more important. It will affect future relationships if your friendship does not change. Moreover, if you do not communicate honestly about the past with her, you will always question whether your partner will discover it and leave. Her husband could also find out. What then? He has cancer, so I chose not to inform him as this could adversely affect his health further. She lives in another state, so meeting was not a concern. She will likely look to you for everything she asked him for. Now she is vulnerable, and you will have to find a new deactivating strategy, or she will cut ties with you. Side note not mentioned, it affects your morals and integrity. Is that something you consider important? Him, I understand the reasons and agree with them. Me, if you have a suggestion that makes both of us feel comfortable, I am open to listening. However, right now, this is what I feel safe with. I dislike it and would never ask a partner to eliminate a friend from his life, but this has gone too far and both of you are at fault. You must make a complete choice regarding something you want. If you choose her, then commit to her fully. I refuse to be in a situation where I cannot trust you. Him, I will have to think about whether there is a way we can both feel comfortable, but I will do that if not. Me, are you 100% committed to making this work? Him, oh yes. Me, I feel that our attitudes toward this are different. I feel hopeful, I believe it can work, and I want it to work. It seems like you are worried it will not work. You seem to be keeping a distance, more just waiting to see. Him, yes, I think that is accurate. I believe we cannot know if it will work until we try therapy, etc. Me, are you willing to do the necessary work? Is the goal to make it work? Him, oh yes. Me, then it will work. Their goal is to establish a secure attachment. So if we both have the same objective and are willing to do the work, it will succeed. Love is like that. Love is a choice, not merely an emotion. When the feelings are not always present, the choice remains. Would you agree with that? Him, oh yes. Me, why do you feel the need to separate your personal health and prioritize it over mental health and resolving this issue? Him, it is not the same thing. If I am not healthy, it can affect everything else. Me, okay, but why is one more important than the other and not considered equal when your mental health can affect your physical health, and that is what is already happening? He suppresses, and he has had an elevated heart rate, but he does not connect those two. Him, absolutely, but I must prioritize my personal health above all else, and it is not the same thing. Me, okay, but scientifically it is. Your mental health can affect your physical health and vice versa. Our relationship has contributed to mental health challenges for both of us. Is that not equally significant if it also impacts your physical health? Him, no, it is different. This is when frustration began. He believes I am trying to tell him he is wrong and dictate the conversation. Me, I am not saying you are wrong. I am trying to understand why it is separate for you and why you need to place greater importance on physical health and not link it to mental health. Is it because that includes me? Him, no, it is my opinion. I feel it is separate and I need that to be my highest priority. Your children are your top priority and I have this as my top priority. Me, my children are not part of the focus on healing. There are other matters that take precedence at different times. However, regarding my personal growth, I consider both equally important as both affect my well-being. What I understand, and please correct me if I am wrong, is that you require that separation for your own autonomy. You need to feel that you are distinct from me, and that is more essential. However, I am aware that in a relationship, our health impacts my physical health as well, and they cannot be separated. For you, as an avoidant, you need this disconnection and to place more significance on it, even if it is just mentally. For me, they are all of equal importance. At some point, this must be equally important to you because my happiness will also influence your happiness, which in turn affects your physical and mental health. It is all part of an interconnected system. It cannot be separated where one person holds more significance or it simply will not work. He largely agreed with this, but we had to conclude the call so he could make work-related calls. I understand this is lengthy, but does anyone have experience with this situation, and is there hope for resolving it? Has anyone truly witnessed an avoidant individual change and become secure, or are their boundaries so rigid that the only outcome will be my mental health suffering in the process if it is not given equal importance? It is exceedingly difficult to gain clear understanding from an avoidant. Regardless of whether you agree with my choice to possibly reconcile, I need constructive feedback, not someone criticizing my decisions. You do not know the complete details of the relationship and friendship that was genuine.